All right, now, no one wants to hear me talk anymore. And besides, I'm getting kind of thirsty, and it's a little too early to start drinking. So, it is 10:15, all right. So, I'm going to talk to Carla later. So, go to Pork Fest, I'll talk about that later as well. Thank you, Carla. So, the last Pork Fest. Many people might know I was the Soapbox Idol judge, and I was sitting there. I had a great time, and there was a speaker there that blew me away. And it's a little fire plug, that's what I think of her as. And she went up there, and I was like, man, you know, I love that woman. That woman rocked. I mean, she was on fire. And then I put two and two together as, oh, I know who she is. She's that girl in Missouri who, you know, she's the one who broke the Mayak story, right? We all know, you guys all know you're terrorists? Yeah. The government doesn't like you. You're, you know, they said that, right? Maybe not the word terrorist, but they said you're bad, right? Because, by the way, if you quote the law of the land, the Constitution, you're thought of as a bad person. That always strikes me as so funny. So why aren't we arresting the Supreme Court? Oh, because they don't follow the Constitution either. So, but what, you know, I put two and two together who it was, and I think it might have been really, really early in the morning or late at night. I went up to her and I grabbed her, and she actually said a couple funny things, which I won't repeat. It was about Tracy, remember? Thank you, Tracy. And it was pretty funny, but so, and I went up to her. And you can ask me the story later, it is pretty funny. So I went up to her and I said, hey, Catherine, Barron just said I have to run the Liberty Forum next year, even though I said no. And I said, you're the first speaker. And she goes, well, and I'm like, no. I want you to put that same energy. You can talk about anything you want. You put the energy you put into that soapbox, I want you speaking. And it's been great. We've been contacting each other for months. And I, you know, now I joined, I didn't join her Twitter because I don't Twitter. I still don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. But for YouTube videos, and I follow her, the Liberty Restoration Project. So please give a big round of applause for Catherine Bleish.
You're making me blush, Chris.
Bleish.
Well, thank you all for having me out here to New Hampshire again. I'm going to be completely honest. I had one of the best experiences of my life last time I was here at Pork Fest, and I am sure that these next couple of days are going to rank right up there as well. Today I'm going to be speaking to you about the mechanics of the police state, and I really kind of want to get into the nitty-gritty about the steps our government is taking to literally, you have the Department of Homeland Security infiltrating every single level of law enforcement across our entire country. Not only our law enforcement, but our military as well. But first, I would like to extend a big thank you to the Free State Project. Because, as I said, I went to Pork Fest last year and I brought pink-haired Tracy with me. And the activist that arrived with me was totally different when we left. And that woman has been moving and shaking and rocking and rolling ever since she left Pork Fest. You guys inspired her so much. She actually worked a booth by herself for the first time at Pork Fest, and it was, you know, really terrifying for her when I came back, and she had been sitting there by herself for a couple hours. And now this girl is sitting in front of the Missouri legislature testifying about why red light cameras should be abolished in the state of Missouri, and tomorrow is coordinating her second nationwide red light camera protest. So thank you guys for that. Because of the new life that was breathed into Tracy, I have been able to leave Missouri basically, and I've been able to take on some bigger issues than what is happening specifically in my home state. You see, last November, I was a delegate to the Continental Congress of 2009. John Bush was with me as well. And something we realized while we were there is that people don't know what fusion centers are. They don't know that the MIAC, the Missouri Information Analysis Center, is a Department of Homeland Security Fusion Center. So we realized this was a major problem because these institutions are doing a lot of damage to the relationship between the general public and the law enforcement communities. And we embarked on a journey called Operation Defuse, and we've been traveling the country together, speaking in front of activists, teaching them steps that they can take to combat these, as well as sitting down and meeting with the fusion centers themselves. So I would like to talk to you today about 4 different things. First, the principles of federalism in which our country was designed. I think it's really important that we understand how the government is supposed to work before we start talking about the problems and the solutions. We need to have a good understanding where we're coming from. I know most of you here probably do already have that understanding, but just in case, I would like to go over that a little bit. Additionally, what fusion centers are, technically, how they work, what they do, how the Department of Homeland Security is circumventing our state sovereignty, that federalist principle, and solutions that we as individuals and as organizations can embark upon to try and create more harmony between our law enforcement community and the general public. So first and foremost, principles of federalism. That is one of the main principles in which our form of government was instituted upon. You see, we were formed as a union of sovereign states. That means individual, independent, free states who are coming together as a union and who are delegating certain powers to the federal government. They wrote the Constitution and they said, "Dear federal government, here's what we expect out of you, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And just in case you don't understand your expectations clearly, we're going to include this Bill of Rights that say what you cannot do. You cannot infringe upon our right to speak freely. You cannot infringe upon our right to protect ourselves." And the 9th and 10th Amendments make it very clear that the federal government is not to take on additional powers that are not granted to them in the Constitution. They are only to operate within the chains, the confines of the Constitution. They are not to step outside of that. Once they do that, they're violating their job description, and in my opinion, they ought to be fired.
Yeah.
Every single state constitution has a clause that reiterates the independence of their state. In Missouri, in our Constitution, it's Article 1, Section 4, and it states that Missouri is a free and independent state, subject only to the Constitution of the United States. That means that Missouri residents are not subject to any one president, to their political czars. They are not subject to the United Nations, the Council on Foreign Relations. They are subject only, 100%, totally and solely, they are subject to the United States Constitution. That is it. Other than that, the residents and the citizens of the state of Missouri are free to govern themselves however they so choose. And that is written into our Constitution. That is a protection that the state of Missouri granted myself and my fellow residents. And the state of New Hampshire has very similar language in their Constitution as well. So I encourage all of you to sit down and read your state constitutions if you have not. Mine was a very interesting read. I just read it last fall, actually. It's a lot thicker than the United States Constitution, but it does protect the state of Missouri from what is happening at the federal level right now. Now, unfortunately, I don't know that all of my state representatives understand the power that they have, but I've been working with them to try and educate them on that as well, and I know you all are doing that here in New Hampshire.